Hey, everybody, welcome to What Drives Us, episode 290 for September 5th, 2018. My name is Russell Frost. I am your host for this evening. And look at this panel. Look at, those quality faces there. You wouldn't think that I don't pay these people. You would look at them and think they are highly remunerated experts. Instead, they are totally not paid experts. So let's introduce them and get the show on the road. My wingman on What Drives Us, as always, the most reflective man in the Chicagoland area, Mr. Tony Schaefer.
It is true. I don't know. It's all true. Whatever you've heard, whatever has been said, it's all true.
The rumors about your high albedo are true.
Yes.
There we go. Well, speaking of a high albedo, where do I go with that?
I have no idea.
Let's introduce our man in Canada.
Sure. Come to me after that.
He is one of the three Model 3 owners on the panel tonight, Mr. Mark Coughlin.
And don't forget the 2 Chevy Volts, too.
And the 2 Chevy Volts.
There you go. Yeah.
Yes.
So welcome, everybody. We got a quite a diverse show, as well as a diverse cast of experts. So let's get to it.
Absolutely. And let's introduce the second Model 3 owner. He has a Model X and a Model 3 and a Leaf. Did you sell the Leaf?
I still have the Leaf. I'm wearing the shirt because this is going to be I'm selling it, so I won't have it for long. It's my last chance to wear the shirt. I should throw it in with the car.
He is Mr. OEVA.org, our man in Portland, Mr. Patrick Connor.
Hello from Oregon, wherever and whenever you are. It's going to be a great show. Buckle up. Let's have some fun.
Yeah, I think buckling up is a really good idea. Speaking of buckling up, he just got his Model 3, and I understand that now the Model S lives out at the end of the driveway in rather dubious environments, which makes me sad. But if you want to buy it, Dr. Evan Fusco is the man who can make you a deal. Hi, Evan.
What? I'm sorry. I was still trying to figure out how to spell remunerated.
It's like, really, why? Just definitely with that. We could get a robot to do this.
So yeah, I was selling that Model S, or attempting in vain at this point to sell my Model S. But yeah, the Model 3 has been fun. We talked about it on the Tesla Life last show, and it's got a few things that are missing that I'm gonna miss from the S, but. All in all, it's a really nice car, so I'm excited about that. So
excellent, and it hasn't rained, so you still have a bumper cover.
It did rain very hard on my way home from Kansas City, so I'll have to check. I didn't look back there. Maybe there's no bumper cover.
Maybe there's no bumper cover anymore. And finally, our technical expert, Mr. Boulder Hybrids in Boulder, Colorado. I like to call him Paul Guzik.
Hey folks, glad to be back, and my beer sponsor is the Upfloat Brewing Company, which is probably less than a mile from my shop. So I don't know why I say sponsor, because they never give me anything. But I like supporting the local craft.
We say beer sponsor in air quotes, right?
Yes. Just like all the automotive sponsors that pay us.
Right. That don't. Well, we got a ton of stuff to talk about. Let's get this thing going, as it were. And as Patrick warned, buckle up. First, it's not so much a news story. In fact, it actually encompasses several news stories, which I'm not going to quote right now, but I've wanted to have a discussion, and we have a really good panel for this tonight. Tesla and Elon Musk. Is there a difference? Is one essential to the other? Now, we can talk historically how important Elon has been for Tesla. I don't think that's a dispute. What I want to talk about is currently and going forward. Can Tesla exist without Elon? Patrick Connor.
I'll go first. He is absolutely vital to the company, but I don't think he's indispensable. We've talked about how he does a lot of micromanagement, and you'd be better off letting some of your people grow and develop and trusting them, and that you would end up with a stronger bench if he did that, instead of trying to work himself ragged. So, he's often compared to Jobs in a lot of ways. I thought that would be the end of Apple after Jobs died, and it was not. The company's done great since then. There's a lot of companies that go on after their founders leave and go on to become great companies. So I think that the mission stays the same. Their great products stay the same. The roadmap's well established for the next 5 years. I think maybe things happen a little faster with him there, but I don't think the company dies without him.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I pretty much agree. I agree with that. Yeah, it wouldn't be Tesla without him. That's for sure. He's gotten Tesla to where it is, but now I think it is much bigger than he can handle alone. And we've mentioned many times about the COO, CFO, CEO, CIO, CTO, whatever, the whole C-suite of executives that normally exist at a regular publicly traded company that's valued at billions of dollars. Instead, Tesla just has Elon.
They do have a CTO and a CFO.
Okay, so it's two.
Yeah.
Okay, so
they need many more.
So the Elon in the C-suite, it's a trio. But yeah, they need many more. And you're right, he can step away. That's not going to kill Tesla. Yeah, like I said, I mean, he got it to where it is, but I do think it's time that he lets other people take a bigger lead, play a bigger role.
I don't see, and I don't think he's fulfilled his vision of where he is going to be willing to start letting it go. I think he still has many steps that he wants to see through, and probably doesn't trust anybody else to see it through the way he envisions it.
Well, that's obvious. Like the trust is not there. That's for sure.
Yeah, I started to argue the same premise, Evan, and I was like, well, okay, Russell wants to do the thought experiment. I'll just answer the question he asked instead of, I think, the bigger question of why are we even discussing it? Or yeah.
So thank you for that setup, Patrick. So the reason we're discussing this,
I'm going to give my 2 cents.
Please,
something may happen where they run out of money, and the board forces them to bring in more people. Kind of what happened to Steve Jobs way back with Apple. And the board brought in John Scully, and then
he buried the company.
Buried the company, but then Jobs came back and took the company to the next level. And like others have said, I thought when Jobs died, Apple would be done, but they've actually flourished since then. They've got good people on board, and their stock is all-time high, and they've still good products coming out. So, I guess it depends.
You'll get some debate on the products.
If Elon can control it, he probably doesn't want to step aside, but he may be forced to when the money starts running out, which could happen.
Is it just a matter of the money running out, or is it a matter? I think the thing that brings this up to me, because I think a lot of what animates Tesla customers and people who want to be Tesla customers is Elon. They feel like he is the representation of that great American genius who,
was educated in Canada.
I'm sorry?
Who went to school in Canada.
Who went to school just to be an internationalist.
But he's the closest thing we have to Steve Jobs right now, running any company.
He's, as far as capturing information or capturing imagination, yes,
right.
I totally agree. I totally agree with that. People love Elon. And it is such a part of what Tesla is. Now, they love Tesla products too. But I guess the question is like, Elon's behavior is becoming, in my opinion, more and more erratic. And at some point, it's a liability to Tesla. I don't think it's at that point yet.
But that's the Ambien.
It's something. I don't know what it is.
That's what he said. He said,
right. Yeah, that's what he says.
But if you need the Ambien to help you get to sleep, there are a lot of successful company owners and CEOs who don't need help sleeping at night.
Right.
No, they use cocaine.
Right. They use the cocaine to wake up.
But just don't sleep.
Yes. Yes.
Well,
or meth. They just
yeah. There you go. There you go.
Great. Yeah, I think the discussion of is there a difference between Tesla and Elon is a resounding yes. But I just think he has become a control freak, or has always been a control freak. I think you're right. He hasn't fulfilled where he wants to be, but I think he could bring people on who can work just as hard as he can and get even farther than he could on his own. I just really wish he would cede some of that control to people who could actually help.
Maybe like the Jobs analogy, where Jobs had to be ousted from his position by his own board and then be annexed to another company and then have to work outside of Apple for all those years and then come back. That gave Jobs perspective about what he was doing previously, about what his failings were, and what his abilities could be if he was ever let back in the door. And when he did get back in the door, he took that company by the reins and drove it hard. Yeah. And maybe Elon needs perspective. Maybe he needs that view from the outside to understand that he is being erratic. You don't tell news reporters you're taking Ambien to go to sleep. Like, that's just stupid. I don't know why you would admit that and then continue to act erratic.
You don't start a fight with a guy in Thailand who's essentially one of the key people and insist that he's a pedophile, then apologize for it, and then a month later insist once again he's a pedophile.
Erratic behavior.
Yeah, right. That's the stuff that I get the whole like Elon time and the whole like he's irresponsible and he likes to talk about stuff that isn't there and all of that. I think that's bad. No, we're not going to call the show that, Paul.
First show title suggestion.
Right.
Yeah, I'm getting new title suggestions in the panel comments, and they're good. But
yeah, unfortunately I do think that if Tesla, ousted Elon, instead of going somewhere else to say what?
If the board ousted him, right?
Or the board,
right.
Yeah, the board, then unfortunately, instead of going to some new company, i.e. Pixar or starting Next or something, I think he'll go freak out at the Boring Company or SpaceX. He got other avenues.
He'll just start digging random tunnels.
So there's sort of an interesting phenomenon, I think. We sort of welcome, accept, and encourage somewhat bizarre behavior, oftentimes in artists and actors and performers and things like that, because we feel like that eccentricity probably contributes to what makes them good artists. There's a certain unbalancedness or something that functions a little bit differently in the brains. And yet when we see that in a business person, he's used that with great success to some degree, but at the same time, the things that we're talking about are also that, artists don't have investors that are relying on them and things like that. So it's kind of funny because we want a little bit of that, but we want to be able to draw the line. Okay, you can be this crazy, then you have to stop. Whereas with artists, we usually accept whatever they'll go to, and though sometimes we see consequences of that too, with the higher incidence of drug use and suicides and things like that. So it's an interesting philosophical question. I mean, I'm glad we're kind of tossing it around a little bit tonight. I don't know what we do with it. It's Elon brings a lot of the passion for the product and for EVs, and letting him go, it's kind of hard to imagine that engine keeps churning at the same rate it is now.
Yeah, it's just sad when he gets focused on something else, like the Thailand diver. That's just how does that help mankind? How does that help his mission? It's just a distraction. Yeah. I mean, if he really thinks the guy's abusing children, okay, then hire a private investigator and let law enforcement handle it or whatever. But don't go on Twitter about it. That's just ridiculous.
Right.
Or call random reporters assholes and then start ranting about it. Like, really? Anyway,
off the record, come on.
Yeah, off the record, sure. Let's go to our first news story of the night. I think Mr. Guzik has a story that is going to affect,
Some of my customers.
Yeah, some of Paul's customers.
Yeah, and I'm sure this is the legal department saying to do this recall because there's a 0.0001% of this causing a problem and causing a lawsuit. But the gist of it is, worldwide, Toyota's recalling 1 million Prius hybrids and CHR hybrids, which aren't sold in North America, at least in the US. I don't know about Canada, because of a risk of fire. And any of these cars catching fire, but I guess they're concerned about it, like many recalls, and they're just going to try and fix it. So it's basically something short circuits and the car will smoke and or catch fire. And in the US, it's 192,000 cars are affected, which isn't too bad, but it's a big deal for companies to bring these cars in and retrofit the fix, as we've seen with the airbag fiasco. It's the first time we've heard about a Prius recall for quite a while in the major news. So that kind of hit this morning, and guess we'll see what happens.
So, Paul, have you seen any details? Do you know exactly what harness they're talking about? Because this almost sounds like a zip tie fix from the description I'm reading.
It's basically part of the high voltage wires, I guess, build up resistance and get hot and can melt and or start a fire. Of course, none of these stories ever talk about the thousands of gas cars that catch fire every day in the country. But I think it's a non-issue, but kind of like the floor mat thing, on their second-gen Priuses. They made everybody bring their cars in and take out the floor mats because the floor mats would come loose and get stuck under the gas pedal. And, if you're got half a brain, you probably wouldn't let that happen anyway. Ouch. But but it's a legal liability thing. Yeah. And what's interesting is over half of the affected vehicles are in Japan, 554,000 in Japan, and only 192,000 in the US, and then the rest are worldwide.
I do want to say it was really like a kind of give my thumb in the eye of Bloomberg News, who put in the penultimate paragraph that, hey, remember that unintended acceleration thing? Yeah, that was Toyota too. Wow, that's really some crappy piling on.
Yeah, that was a big non-issue.
Right, exactly. And they don't really say, well, it was a big non-issue. They just went, oh, nobody forgets that. Right. Wow. Yeah. I'm willing to bet lots of people forgot it.
Yeah. What I think is interesting is, for whatever marketing reasons, they don't sell the CHR as a hybrid in North America.
Well, there's that too, right?
Yeah. That's a whole other discussion.
Well, that's because no one in the U.S. has bought any, so they're not going to bring it.
Yeah.
There's your logic right there.
Maybe so. But in other markets, they do. I was just looking around. There's a Corolla wagon hybrid in other markets around the world.
I'm not sure which part throws me off the most, the wagon or the hybrid.
That would be a cool car.
But I think it'd be a cool car. But as that article says, I think it was a Car and Driver site, says, Americans don't buy station wagons, which we know with the Prius V not being very popular sales-wise.
That's, America kind of...
They want big SUVs.
They want to sit up high, and they like that little rounded shape. Yeah. Practicality is not the issue.
So if you own one of these affected Priuses, don't have to run tomorrow to get it fixed, and you don't have to stop driving the car. I mean, it's a very small chance of anything happening, but next time you want to get it fixed at the dealer, but take your time.
Yeah, the article I have here from the LA Times.
Like I didn't see anything in the article saying 6 people have been killed because of this already.
Now, the LA Times reports that there has been 1 reported case of a vehicle emitting smoke, but no injuries were reported.
Right, and no fire, just smoke.
Yeah. Also, I have here. I have here for your enjoyment the Japanese Corolla wagon hybrid.
That's badass. I love that. So it's like
not bad.
It's like a smaller Prius V.
I guess.
Okay.
That's kind of cool.
So Russell's
badass
torn.
does not come to mind. Evan,
Yeah.
would you say that's
Russell's torn between the white and black Roadster and this.
Yeah, right. Because that's the choice any consumer is going to be making. Hybrid, or I can buy this $250,000 car, which, by the way, doesn't exist yet. Right. Okay. Sure, Evan. Hey, speaking of,
before we leave this one, I wanted to say, good on Toyota. They're doing this recall. As we said, no one's been hurt. There haven't been fires, but they see that there's a risk. And, we've heard about car companies in the past saying, well, the risk of if we get sued after somebody dies is X dollars and the recall is Y dollars, so we're not going to do it. And so good on Toyota for doing this recall and keeping their customers safe.
And that's great. And just one other thing, if you do get a letter from Toyota and go in for the recall, oftentimes they find other things to fix on your car that are billable. So politely decline those other things and get a second opinion.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if you get one of these letters, take your affected Prius to Boulder Hybrids.
Well, take it to the dealer, get the free recall work. And when they give you a list of other things you should do, say, no, thank you. And then take it to an independent shop like mine. And then we'll tell you if you really need it or not. And most of the time, you don't need that other stuff. But they want to, build some billable revenue while the car is there.
Of course.
At no time do you need an engine shampoo.
You got to lube the chassis. You have to do that every 50,000 miles.
Well, sometimes you got to buy new blinker fluid.
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
So I'm going to put a picture up just to show you.
What kind of car is that?
Remember
From the
that?
future.
Is that a Corolla wagon?
It is longer than the Corolla wagon. It is more expensive than the Corolla wagon, but it is not a Corolla wagon.
That is.
This
And like the Corolla wagon, it's not available in the U.S.
like the Tesla Roadster, there's one.
Yeah.
One. Absolutely. So this, folks, you will remember is the Faraday Future FF91. This is the first pre-production prototype assembled in their Hanford, California factory.
Where's the last one?
You mean the
same
other
one.
prototypes they had?
Were there
Fire
one or
sale.
two at the revealing?
I'm guessing their dodgy CEO probably stole them. Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, suffice to say, this is it's a milestone of sorts, and I'm glad to see Faraday Future talking about something they've actually done, which is build a car. Granted, it's only one car, and that's not a super huge achievement, building one car when you've got a whole factory, but it's a step, and maybe they can bring this totally impractical, ridiculously priced, bizarre vehicle to market.
It is one of the most bizarre.
There's a lot of
vehicles.
caveats in that statement.
But it's better to see them doing this than spending money at CES and doing all the other crazy marketing and the Bobcat Rodeo. This is the right way for them to be spending their time and money.
I agree completely.
And this is made out of metal and plastic instead of styrofoam.
Exactly.
Yes.
Allegedly.
No more styrofoam cars.
So
However,
this is the best way for them to be spending their money if they want to sucker more people into investing in their stocks.
Yeah.
You're right,
That's
but
kind of the sad
you
part.
know
Yes.
that it's still futile effort.
Yeah. The president of the company, Mr. Ponzi, is asking more people for investors. Yes. But, Russell's had said something there that I think was kind of skimmed over the fact that this picture was taken in their California factory, which is not where the Bobcat Rodeo took place.
That is correct. Yeah, they hosed Nevada.
Yeah, that contractor's still looking for them.
Yeah, I'm sure.
They're
government
hiding
did
in
that.
their California factory at an undisclosed location.
Yeah, well, Hanford's not undisclosed, but it may as well be. Yeah, and we just lost Hanford viewers. Sorry. That's
It could
okay.
be Barstow,
And right? Yeah, exactly. Wait, I like Barstow. There's an In-N-Out there.
That's all there is there.
Yeah,
And a supercharger.
and a
at the McDonald's.
supercharger. Exactly.
And a big ass thermometer.
No, that's Baker.
Oh, okay.
That's Baker, my friend.
Down the
You
road
need
a
to get
bit.
your California geography down.
Yeah, I got to brush up on that.
Speaking of geography, Patrick has our next story about another exciting new electric car.
Oh, yeah. So if you want to hear Germans making jokes about Swedes, then you should watch the Mercedes unveiling. Because all those jokes were over my head. So Mercedes has a new car out, the EQC, they had an unveiling event, and the car is expected to be out in 2020. And the unveiling, they had some very dramatic lighting and some interesting discussions about where their design elements come from. And if you're really into Mercedes cars, I'm sure it was great. The inside of the car is beautiful. They definitely have some nice luxurious touches there. But for the parts that I care about, let's see. It's got 280 miles of range on the European test cycle, so we'll see what that comes out to in more real-world testing later. It has an 80 kilowatt-hour battery, and they did not announce the price.
If you have to ask.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a Mercedes, so they talked about how it was a ground-up design, but then if you look at the car, it has a grille on front that looks very traditional. It doesn't have a frunk. It looks like it has everything covered over in plastic there, but there's no real.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm with you, Russell. It's not a clean sheet of paper design. It's let's modify something we're familiar with.
Here's the frunk. If you look, well, not farther down the page. Oh, look at that. That doesn't look like, any kind of engine hood that you would open up, right?
Right.
That's
Yeah,
true. It does
that's-
not look like an engine, but
Yeah, it kind of looks like an
so-
engine.
You could fit like a folio of paper, I think.
Filled with
It's
Right,
fine.
yeah. If you have some posters, you could roll them flat.
Right. Yeah.
You could lay the posters flat and still shut the hood. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, it's arguably not. I don't.
And
it's
is there
Mercedes,
a availability date mentioned?
2020.
the future.
Mhm.
Sure.
It's going to be launched side by side with the Faraday Future 9.1.
We're so late in 2018 that 2020 date. When is somebody going to finally bite a bullet and go, yeah, 2023?
Right.
That's the new date.
Well, I will
Um,
say I've noticed driving around Boulder are some Mercedes cars doing some autonomous type software tests with Michigan plates on them in Boulder. So I think they have an office of a bunch of engineers here or something. So, but I haven't seen that car yet. So
Yep. So in the chat here, we have some stuff. So Eric Stevens said, heard a rumor the price would be 55,000 GBP. Not sure
British
if that.
pounds.
Yeah, not sure if that includes the VAT. Matt says it's going to be 6 years behind. He says it's estimated at estimated at late 2019 in Europe, 2020 in North America, but still be 6 years behind in terms of tech by the time it gets here.
Yeah. They've all learned to
And,
copy Tesla. Also, the unfortunate thing is they're copying in the timelines. That's the one that they don't want to copy, and they are.
And David speculates that 280 miles in the European cycle is equivalent to roughly 12 miles EPA.
Nice, David. Yeah, I'm not sure about that conversion rate, but yeah, I mean, it's arguably, with Jaguar coming out with the I-Pace, this is sort of like, really? You know what I mean? Like an actual car that's real, that's here, that's now, that has specs and a price, and Mercedes is still promising something like, wow, you guys are world leaders.
At least they're have at this stage where they have when they're showing it, they're announcing plans instead of just we'll have something in 2023. Don't worry, trust us, and wait until then. I mean, so it's a small step, but I'm glad they're taking it.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I do like here in the Clean Technica article, Klingtechnica. It says the announcement is lacking in key details like production volumes, battery chemistry, battery suppliers, charging speeds, charging standards, and charging network build-outs.
Yes. They did talk about Ionity.
EV buyer.
It'll all work out. Yeah.
It'll be fine.
Yeah.
It'll be
Trust
fine.
us. We're an
Well-
auto company.
Has anybody here ever heard of the American Customer Satisfaction Index?
No.
I'm Canadian. I have no idea.
That's the
In
same
America.
thing.
Part of America, which depends on how you define America.
Right. That is the same thing I said. The American Customer Satisfaction Index. Well, as it turns out, Green Car Reports last week announced that the ACSI, as it were, completed their survey for cars. The interesting thing is, it appears, I don't want to say rigorous, but the ACSI surveyors interview 250,000 buyers every year to learn what products and features they like. Okay, that's a good size sample. I don't know where they get those names and those those buyers, but okay, at least that's a statistical universe, shall we say. It turns out that most of the people thought that mileage was actually, MPG was actually important, which shocked me into silence.
Bullshit.
I didn't think most American car buyers cared about MPG at all.
Well, they do when
Yeah.
gas prices are high.
Right.
Closer to
Yeah, they might
$4
care
a
about
gallon.
it
They do.
when they're taking a survey and just in the abstract, but then when they have their actual car selection, it flies away.
That's what I was thinking. Like, okay, so this is a poll, and somebody went through it, and they went, "Sure, I like good gas mileage. Would I ever buy one? No."
Right. Yeah. It's the first thing you learn talking with customers. Do you want? And then the answer is yes.
Right. Right.
It doesn't matter
You
what
buy,
you're offering.
you know.
Yeah, and then
Yes,
it becomes, would
exactly.
you buy? No.
Yeah,
So-
there's a term in economics, demonstrated behavior versus expressed behavior, and they don't line up often.
Yeah.
Yeah. Overall, people like their cars more than previous years. Customer satisfaction with fuel economy dropped 1 point this year. Why? Well, they don't give a reason. They just are less satisfied with it.
I think it's because they hear about all of us with the electric cars and how it's like $1 a gallon and equivalent, and I hope that's why.
Yeah.
Slowly, the mindset is going, you know what, this gas thing's not a good idea.
Right.
I know I'm deluding myself, but let me stop for a moment.
Thank you for saying it so I didn't have to. Right. I appreciate it. Tony's got our next story about some vegetable matter.
Yeah. So, apparently a couple of plants made contact recently. Actually, this is another one of those oops, an autonomous vehicle was involved in an accident stories. But in this case, it was one of Apple's autonomous cars. And as is so typical in autonomous car incidents, it was human error. The irony here is that the Apple autonomous car was rear-ended by a leaf, which, I just think that's funny.
There is a small leaf on top of the Apple logo.
Yes, there is.
Yeah, so maybe it was foreshadowed by the logo
And it took a
itself.
bite out of the apple.
Yeah. Ooh.
But dump.
But yeah, really, I mean, there's nothing really of substance here. The apparently the
Have we
Apple
seen-
car was
Yeah,
a
have we seen pictures of the Apple car yet?
I have not that I'm aware
What's
of.
it based on?
It's a Lexus RX 450h.
Doesn't exist.
Well, apparently it got hit, so the leaf hit something.
Right. How do you know it was just one of their mapping cars?
I don't know, because it's on the internet that it was a. You can't publish it if it's not true.
What's our standard disclaimer?
our standard disclaimer is until Donald Trump claims it's fake news, it's not fake news.
Oh man.
You mean that one, or was there another one?
I don't know. I have no.
So we do know that it was an autonomous car because they have to file. Apple had to file a report with the California Department of Motor Vehicles. So that seems to
There was
be
a human driver's fault behind the autonomous car.
Yeah, so apparently the Apple autonomous vehicle was at a on-ramp and was traveling at 1 mile an hour, preparing to merge onto the Lawrence Expressway in Sunnyvale.
You can't merge at that speed.
Right. Well, which is probably why the Nissan Leaf rear-ended it at about 15 miles an hour. Yeah. But one thing that is interesting about the article is the discussion that, perhaps the autonomous software coders have to anticipate how humans are going to interact with autonomous cars. We've already mentioned many times on this show how autonomous vehicles will stop for what it perceives are threats, but humans know they're not. And so a human driver following the car might say, oh, well, he's just going to go around it, whereas the autonomous vehicle slams on the brakes and the car behind wasn't expecting it, they rear-end him. So it's an interesting discussion of not only does the autonomous vehicle have to drive itself, but now also possibly take into consideration how the humans are going to react to the autonomous vehicle behaving the way it behaves.
Yep. And what about the road rage by the human who is pissed that the autonomous car is going 1 mile an hour and gets out with a baseball bat and starts smashing the windows?
Yeah, maybe this guy hit it on purpose. Come on, just go, man.
Just helping it merge.
Yeah, helping it merge, pushing it into traffic.
Yeah, they merged. They're back with the front of the Leaf. They merged.
Not the kind of merging anyone was looking forward to.
Yeah. But, this is one more thing that is kind of interesting is Apple has, over the last couple of years, just denied that they were working on autonomous software. Maybe they're not going to make the car, but maybe Apple wants to be in the software game, the AI game. And they denied it and denied it and denied it. And they can't deny it any longer because one of their cars got hit.
Yep. Project Titan lives.
Yep.
We'll see what it actually produces, Patrick. I'll be drinking your beer before the end of it, my friend. That's all I'm saying. Well, speaking of winning bets or losing bets, we have a long history on what drives us of not being super supportive of concepts, because all too often you get a really cool concept and it turns out when the reality comes, what you get is something less cool. Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And this isn't limited to cars or scooters, and certainly in my case, this is all kinds of little things. And Adidas, for some reason, has some kind of design marketing thing, and part of it was they hired these two designers, architects, in Florida to create something environmental. So I want to show you, if you're familiar with Florida at all, this will resonate pretty well. Florida is the home of hot sun and lightning. There are more lightning strikes there and more people killed by lightning than anywhere else in the United States. So when it comes to lightning, Florida's a good place to get it. And they actually planned this for Sarasota Bay. What is this thing, you ask? Well, this is
lightning vortex funnel.
Yes. This is a way to capture lightning and store the energy.
Wow.
Right? But wait for it. So they float this mesh up in the air when the storm hits and the lightning strikes down and it's captured. And you see these little things down here, right? Here's what happens after. People can watch lightning strike this thing. Okay?
That's going to go terribly wrong.
Right?
So this is a tourist attraction, is what you're telling us.
Yes, it is a tourist attraction. And what happens is after the lightning
poor
strikes,
guy with a gold watch is going to attract the lightning instead.
Yeah. And afterwards, the mesh that captured the energy emits a little smoky smoke ring of water vapor. Now, the reality is, where is it? I think it's almost at the bottom. Dun, 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 all the way down. Quote, it is not currently possible to harvest electricity from lightning, but Brooks and Scarpa are hopeful that one day it will be. I want to assure you that one day when it is, people won't want to be in the neighborhood, and it won't look like this.
1.21
Put a
gigawatts.
key in a jar. And
That was,
That's where they're starting, Paul. They're putting up kites. That's where they're going to start.
I just I love the idea that, like, hey, we had a few bourbons. It's California. Maybe we smoked a fat one, and we came up with this idea of this mesh that floats magically and catches electricity, and people want to stand right next to it, next to where it hit. Can you imagine the noise alone?
I know. I was gonna say the light and the noise.
Oh.
So, there's a time then that would have been like a really cool thing to put in a sci-fi novel. It's like a cool piece, but they make an online article about this fantasy as if it's real until the last line.
Right, until the last line. It's not currently possible.
Oh well, no. There are so many hints. They talk about the mesh that's going to inflate it or going to hold it up, and they say they don't yet know what the mesh is going to be made of. They give no indication on what's going to hold it up, or how they're going to inflate it, or blah 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 blah. I sometimes get on Paul because I like talking about new battery developments, whatever. And Paul's like, yeah, until I see it, I get to play Paul and say, this is the stupidest fucking thing I've ever seen. I can't believe these people got screen space for something as stupid as this.
People got paid,
right, well,
dude.
We're giving them too much airtime now, too. Let's just move on to the next story.
I know. Well, and I just wanted to show that, to highlight the sort of like the silliness that Adidas has spent undoubtedly tons of money on. For some reason. So shame on them. You could have just sent us the money and we could have burned it on air. Right. I mean, you really didn't have to go all this trouble.
I'm sure, Russell, you could blow them a smoke ring for however many thousands they spent.
I will be happy to.
Although I do want to say it, a shout out to let's see who had done a David in the chat room. The because we were talking about standing right next to it as lightning strikes.
Darwin Awards.
He had the show titled Darwin Device.
Nice. Yes, absolutely. If you want to stand next to lightning,
not just lightning, a lightning attraction device.
Right. In Florida, people randomly get killed trying to avoid it. And here's like, we're going to go out into the bay and stand by this thing. Anyway, Tony, let's talk about something that maybe is possible.
Maybe, hopefully. And I preface this with Paul, like, until I see it. But no, so apparently some researchers have posted a paper that is now out for peer review, St. John's College, what they've been able to do. And researchers have been looking at algae to capture energy and create energy for years. And they found what seems to be a protein or something in the algae that was dormant. And they found that by activating this protein and then using this in existing photovoltaic cells, what they call a semi-artificial photosynthesis. So it's a combination of natural photosynthesis and synthetic chemistry and materials. And they have been able to, on a very small scale for now, boost the output from photovoltaic. It uses what's called hydrogenase. I don't know. Sounds like something I wouldn't want to eat. But they say it's capable of reducing protons into hydrogen. So you can split water into hydrogen and oxygen semi-naturally without, if you're using photosynthesis to do this, then everything we've bitched about in terms of hydrogen is that it's energy intensive to create. This may just use solar to generate hydrogen.
Reducing protons, and how does that work?
See?
Yeah, you would think molecules, reducing molecules.
So there are no unicorns involved in this at any level.
I hope not.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I don't. This article, the paper is one thing, and this article does not seem to be a good representation of it. It's got all kinds of hype crap in here. Unlimited sources of renewable energy.
I will say one of this is popular mechanics. One of my my least favorite of all quote unquote scientific publications, because if it's popular mechanics, I don't really care much about it. I like reading about the not so popular mechanics. The same with popular science,
source, but still,
yeah, they kind of dumb it down for the populace, but
then they don't even provide a link to the actual article, which pisses me off.
Right. There's no white paper or anything,
It doesn't even have the name of the article. It's got
now it does say that it was published in Nature Energy.
Yeah, so you're gonna have to go through and
find that,
because it's gonna have a totally different title, I'm sure.
Right. It
bias
would be to see what the peer reaction from it was.
Yeah. It could be bias-free photoelectrochemical water splitting with photosystem 2 on a dye-sensitized photoanode wired to hydrogenase.
Maybe
but you have to. Yeah, you have to buy.
There it is. Yeah, that's it.
There'll be one of these in every Toyota Mirai. Right.
Bye-bye solar roof. Hello, algae.
Hello, algae. Thank you. That's all I got.
So I mean, this is like I said, I usually like looking at what people are what they're working on. Maybe in 5-10 years, see something like this kind of market. I don't know. So this is here's what people are working on.
Even if this was a great way to produce hydrogen, you would still need 4 other miracles to make hydrogen viable. That's okay. I'm sure they got their PhDs out of this effort, so good for them.
I love that I'm not the negative guy right now. I love that. Which doesn't mean I just any sort of positive, that's cool. Like at least somebody's working on something that isn't how to drill differently for
right. It's not, at least we're not talking about advanced techniques in deep well fracking.
Yeah.
Right. The way that these papers get reported is often horrible.
Oh yeah.
They want clickbait headlines out of it. Instead of 3% improvement on hydrogen production or a 2% improvement on photovoltaics. That's not a headline.
Right. And this is, even just reading the abstract, this is a very basic, I mean, they're nowhere near like systematizing this to anything that would work in real life anywhere.
Right.
Lab experiments.
How long have we reported on graphene microtubes and how they're going to revolutionize battery technology? How many years does that go back, kids? Anybody want to guess?
Wait, isn't that what's in my Model 3?
Yeah. And unicorn magic.
But they're very small, so you can't see them. You just have to take a word for it. Yeah.
No, I just, and again, maybe the breakthrough will come through because of graphene, but that gets, usually once a year, somebody says, graphene, ooh, we're going to do this with it. Nobody seems to have been able to tame it yet. So it'll be interesting to see if and when it does happen. That's all I got this week. I go to my friend Mark.
I got a story about Delta working on a 400 kilowatt fast charging project. And they, with a number of project partners, including GM, the DT Energy, CPES, Virginia Tech, Next Energy, Michigan Agency for Energy's office, and City of Detroit Sustainability Office, are working on this new type of charger that will be able to replenish up to 180 miles or 290 kilometers of range in just 10 minutes. So they're working out of the Detroit area, obviously, on this. It's a $7 million research program with 50% of the cost shared by the U.S. Department of Energy. So again, another group looking at the fast charge puzzle and how to make it more efficient and faster. And we've seen the rollout. What was it, a couple of weeks ago, of some of those new Charge America chargers that are funded by VW. So there's more than one group that's looking at this type of thing, and certainly it would be a benefit to all EVs that are capable of handling such a charge to be able to get a faster charge with obviously not hurting the battery. But it's another project in the works, and we wish them luck, and hopefully they can get some results for this to help the entire industry.
Yeah, and so it says this is going to charge 2 or 3 times faster than the current Tesla supercharger network. And there aren't a whole lot of cars out there that can do that today, but that's okay. If you're deploying infrastructure, you want to have some future proofing in there. So that seems like a pretty cool idea.
Yep.
There you go. Again, Patrick's point is super important in that, yeah, it's easy to say, well, we don't have that many cars that do this yet, but you don't want to build for what's there right now. You want to build out ahead so that as these things improve, which they will, the infrastructure doesn't age out. Look at all the crappy chargers that are broken and out there littering the landscape now, sadly, that are too slow and nobody maintained. That's just sad. It's a waste. It was a waste of money.
Yeah. So
good for them. It'd be interesting to see them get these things out there and see the cars catch up.
Because if they can solve some of these problems, then the car manufacturers can know that they can push the envelopes that they have as well. So that will improve everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then, well, although it's really, there's some articles about this that are out there saying, oh, this is going to be the Tesla killer for the network, and this will be way better than, and in 3 years, it'll be far better than the Tesla network. And of course, Tesla's not going to just sit still for 3 years and wait for them to catch up. So it's kind of it's good that there's competition and there's options, but the whole Tesla killer thing is so old.
That's overrun everywhere, is it not? Yeah. Like everything is a Tesla killer for those headlines and clickbait that we've been talking about through the show.
Because Faraday Future, they're a Tesla killer.
There you go.
Yeah. At $300,000. Yeah.
Yeah. And then to Patrick's point, in 3 years, this is going to be where Tesla was 2 years ago.
If they hurry.
Right.
if they just keep doing press releases about it, then it won't be anywhere.
Right. Okay. Well, Mark, anything else?
No.
Very good. Let's do some shout outs and go home. Chat room. Now's the time. What do you think the title of this week's show should be? I don't promise to use it, but I always promise to check.
We have the 1.21 gigawatt Darwin device.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
That
we
was,
have.
Anyway.
Yeah, we have the. I don't know. Are you a band ragtime? What would they be? Elon in the C-suite.
I liked Elon in the C-suite a lot, but I got to admit, I do like the 1.21 gigawatt Darwin. That's so appropriate. Well, let's do some shout-outs while we ponder it, see what else the chat room comes up with. Mark?
I wanted to give a shout out to everybody that has interest in electric vehicles and would maybe like to see some, test drive them, talk to owners. All coming up starting this weekend. National Drive Electric Week is upon us. And if you check National Drive Electric Week's website, you can find an event near you throughout North America. There are, I think, 318 events across the continent. And there are a number of them, I'm sure, around you. So click on an event, These are typically owners and small groups that are putting on these presentations, and they would love your support to come out and share with you the EV's abilities and be able to talk to some real owners in some real situations, and probably get a test drive or at least a seat in a vehicle if you're interested to know what they're like. This is the place to do it. This is the time to do it. So get on your web browser and find out what's happening around you.
Absolutely. National Drive Electric Week, super cool grassroots thing, and it's a good way to get out and get some real experience in an EV.
And if you don't find one around you, then this is the time to start thinking about hosting one yourself next year and getting on their list. And they have guides on how to do it, and they help you out with all the insurance needs and all the stuff. So it's a really well run, and they make it easy for you to host an event.
There we go. David in the chat room says Poolsville, Maryland has a big one. Lots of EVs. So if you even know where Poolsville, Maryland is, which I don't, but somebody does, there's
don't lose another city, Russell. Don't lose another one.
Poolsville's a fine place.
And I'm going to plug mine, which of course is in Kitchener. So we'll be the largest showing in all of Canada. So if you're around Kitchener, please come out and see us. We've got over 70 EVs signed up currently, and it's more adding on every day. So would love to see you.
Mark, are you bringing all three of yours?
I will bring a couple of them. But there's so many, Paul, we can't fit them all in the show display area. So I'm going to let some other people display theirs.
So if I come up, can I drive the Model 3?
Absolutely.
Ooh.
And I will take you to Tepperman's to get your Chesterfield.
Worth the trip.
I actually need a Chesterfield, so I'm going to take you up on that. Mr. Connor.
I too am going to be at a National Drive Electric Week event, and our local utility, Portland General Electric, has sponsored a ride and drive. So we're going to have some cars out there, and you can sign up and actually take it for a spin. Should be a good time. And you can find all the details on National Drive Electric Week.
There you go.
And Russell, if you come to Kitchener, Eric Stevens will give you a ride in his Bolt EV as well.
Right on. I would love that. God knows I can't pry one out of Chevy's cold and lifeless fingers. So they're still pissed off about the C7 getting smoked by the Model 3. Dr. Fusco.
Hey, I got not much. I need one more Tesla referral to hit my 5. So if anybody's thinking about buying, we've got till the 16th to use our referral code and get free unlimited supercharging with a performance Model 3 or any SRX. And then I'm also selling my Model S if anybody's really interested in a well cared for, high mileage, early 85 kilowatt rear wheel drive, black. Beautiful.
Talk to me offline. I might be able to help you with that.
Okay.
I would be interested.
Does the Razorback license plate frame go with it?
Yeah,
it could.
It's the whole Razorback badging that scares me away.
I could swap that out for a St. Louis Cardinals badge.
Oh, okay.
Not winning any favors here.
Tony, you just lost Tony. He just slipped off the hook. Well, Mr. Guzik.
Well, I've got a interesting plug this week.
Good.
This guy's kind of a nerd, but he's got a YouTube channel that's just fascinating. He's John Kelly of Weber State University in Utah. Brilliant guy. He talks about all kinds of cool automotive technology. Anybody who's into how does a Prius transmission work, or what's the battery pack on a Volt look like. I don't know how the guy has the time to do all these videos. Some of his videos have hundreds of thousands of viewing, but I encourage any techno geeks out there, and I know you're out there, if you haven't heard of this guy's website or YouTube channel, tune it in. I mean, I learned tons of stuff from him, and he's a totally awesome guy. And he's a professor as well. So, again, I don't know how he finds the time to do it, but
What's his name again?
John Kelly. It's Weber State University. I put a link in the private chat here if Russell can share it.
WEBER Auto is the YouTube.
Yeah, but he's got
Weber Auto.
dozens and dozens of really cool videos on this cool automotive technology.
Yeah, I've watched a lot of his videos, and just they're
The guy is
long.
really
but
smart.
He covers
He just
everything.
released one recently on U-joints on a drive shaft. It's 8 episodes long. It covers where U-joints came from, the 17 different types, how you install them, why they vibrate. I mean,
wow.
Must be nice to have tenure.
Yes. He's
Wow.
obviously doing it for his passion and not for the money.
Which
is cool.
Which is awesome. Yeah.
So, you know, maybe we can do a show on him one day and pick his top 10 videos on hybrids and EVs or something. But,
Get him to come on the show.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so all you out there in YouTube land, check him out.
Awesome. Nice shout out.
Interesting shout out. Yeah. Change of pace.
Good shout outs this week. Tony, bring us down, baby.
All right, let me ruin all the good shout outs with some bad ones. No, of course, I always shout out to everyone in the chat, and a particular shout out to John Lasher, who subscribed to the What Drives Us channel 2 hours ago in the middle of the Tesla Life show, which I thought was pretty funny. And the YouTube channel, by the way, is at youtube.com/whatdrivesus. Make sure you find us on Facebook, facebook.com/whatdrivesus. On Twitter, I think I'm not the Twitter guy. Russell's the Twitter guy at What Drives Us, and Instagram, What Drives Us Show. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. If I did Twitter or Instagram, I would probably know more about those things.
What can you do? Let's talk about Patreon. If you want to support the show, you can do that with a subscription at Patreon of as little as $1 a month. That's less than a quarter a show. That's patreon.com/whatdrivesusshow. Of course, facebook.com/whatdrivesus. As always, we want to thank Michael Mannering for our theme music. Visit him at manthing.com. Let's see. As always, thank you so much to everybody in the chat room for being there. Thanks to an amazing panel. I mean, I don't even know what to say. Like, everybody's here. I feel like I should be distributing bonus checks or something, and I don't have them.
What? Today's not check day?
There's no check.
Jeez, why are we here?
Double your salary.
Exactly. Remember, there's no check ever. That's the magic of What Drives Us. You do it because you love it.
I'm out.
Gotta go.
Bloody hell. Oh, that hurt. That really, really hurt.
I'll do it.
Everybody gets a 50% raise.
I'll do it for 2 glow-in-the-dark toonies. How's that?
Everybody gets a raise. Finally, a couple of personal things. I want to thank my friends Chris and Elaine, who have been hosting me here in Texas for the last 3 weeks. The idea that anyone anywhere can host me for 3 weeks is pretty scary. So,
and they let you into Texas?
Well, I'm only 80 miles from Oklahoma, so I may have to make a run for it tonight now that I've said that. But I've had a wonderful time here, and they have been amazing, generous, hospitable hosts. And I've enjoyed Texas. I will admit it. I have enjoyed Texas.
How many people have driven by you rolling coal?
No one.
Really?
No one.
So you're not driving a Prius then?
Audi A4.
Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, it's. I must be in a very rare place, or maybe I was just wrong.
If you guys follow us on Twitter, I just posted a picture of some a truck rolling coal on a guy who was biking.
That's cool.
Assholes.
Yeah, that's cool. So my thanks to Chris and Elaine for everything they've done. We'll be back home next week. The Tesla Life will be back at its regular place. And of course, What Drives Us, we're always here. As well, on a more personal note, I lost a dear friend this week, and I want to dedicate this show to her and her daughter, Brianna. My friend Pamela passed away. If I can dedicate an irreverent, laughy, silly, but yet informative show to her, she'd get it. So, this one's for her. Tune in next week and find out what drives us. Do I have theme music? Yes, I do. There we go. Theme music.
The
I
Texas
can't wait to be back
acoustics.
to the audio board next week. See ya. Have a great week, everybody. Thanks. Right? Come on. There we go. Music. Yay.